What is up, fish tank people? Top notch tanks here, and today I've got a contest entry for Amber Courtney. Amber is an awesome aquarist. She has a ton of tanks set up. She has a 125-gallon Malawi cichlid tank that looks really nice. She has a 70-gallon acrylic tube tank, which I've never seen before, so that's pretty unique. And then she has a couple of smaller planted tanks. So for this contest, she's basically letting her subscribers completely set up a 75-gallon tank, brand new in the box. She's letting them do the aquascape, the stand, the stocking, the equipment, and so I'm going to get right into my entry. So I made a little drawing here of what I think would be a nice aquascape in your tank. What I believe starts out any aquascape is a sick piece of driftwood. So I got a piece of driftwood right here, and it's pretty large. And then what I would do is offset it to one side a little bit, so it looks a little bit better than having it like directly in the middle of it, to offset a little bit. And then for a foreground plant, I would recommend dwarf sage. Dwarf sage looks really, really nice when it carpets in large tanks, and is fairly easy to take care of as well. Over here I have some Rotala indica, a really big clump that takes up like a third of the tank. I drew it a little small here, but a really big clump that takes up like a third of the tank in the back, and that'll give some nice red color if you have proper lighting and substrate, which I will discuss later. And then some jungle val in the middle and maybe off to the side a little bit. And then for plants on the driftwood, I would do some java moss, and then a giant clump of anubias, which looks really good in large tanks. And then over here, to balance out the tank a little bit, I added some Amazon swords. I'd put smaller ones in the midground and then taller ones in the back. I'd probably get 3 to 5 of those, some 3 to 5 large Amazon swords. And so that's what I think would be a really good aquascape for your 75-gallon. Now I'm going to move on to stocking, equipment, and redesign the stand. For your stand, I picture something like this. The stand is a really important part of like the decor in your room, and black just looks really nice with basically anything. And I'd recommend just doing like black gloss. And for the doors, leave the doors on there, put some hinges on there so they can open and close and they're not just resting on there. But I wouldn't put any handles on. I think it looks really good without handles, and it's just really clean and professional looking. So now I'm going to talk about equipment in your 75-gallon. Starting off with filtration, I would recommend an AquaClear filter. I'd recommend the AquaClear 110, which is their largest model. I have an AquaClear 20, which is basically a similar design, but just smaller, so I'm going to show you the AquaClear 20 in the media I have. So this is my AquaClear 20. It's very similar to the 110, but just smaller. The AquaClear 110 media basket will probably be about 3 times as large as this one right here. This filter has adjustable flow, and then it has a really empty space behind there that I like to keep an extra sponge in, so it stays cycled. And then right here, it's really easy to do maintenance on. Just lift this basket up. And it has 3-stage filtration. It has mechanical and then activated carbon, which are replaced with Purigen, which I'll talk about in a second, and then Biomax. Really easy to take out. You just take it out, wash it in some aquarium water, and you're good to go. Here we have Purigen. This filter originally came with activated carbon, but activated carbon really doesn't do well in a planted aquarium because it absorbs your ferts. So Purigen polishes your water and keeps it clear, but it doesn't remove any fertilizers. So that's why I like to use Purigen. And the AquaClear in general is just a really easy, simple to use filter that's easy to maintain. I really liked it because it came with Biomax. A lot of other filters didn't do that. That was small enough for the tank. But yeah, so that's the AquaClear filter. So for lighting in your tank, I would recommend a T5 high output fixture. The one I chose for you is on eBay. It's from a guy called Top Dog Sellers, and he sells really nice T5 fixture. The one I picked out is a 4-bulb 6500K fixture with a built-in timer. I'll put a picture up right now. And so that light will really help your plants grow and really help them do nice. I would recommend some Seachem Fluorite Black Sand. This is what I use in my 10-gallon nano planted tank, and it's done awesome. The plant's roots look amazing, and it's an iron, or not an iron-based substrate, it's a clay-based substrate that has a lot of iron in it, and so it really helps plants like the Rotala I mentioned get a nice red color. For fertilizers, I would go with some Seachem Flourish liquid fertilizers. You can tell that I like the Seachem brand, huh? Right here I have comprehensive, the comprehensive supplement. There's a range of different supplements. There is nitrogen, iron, phosphorus, potassium. There's all of those, and I would recommend getting all of them because that would help your tank balance. But if you only need a certain one, like, you can experiment with them to find which ones are best for you and what suits your needs. Heating, I have a top fin heater in here. It's not the most recommended thing. It was just all I had money for at the time, which is the cheap heater. But what I would recommend is an Eheim Jagger. These heaters are really, really reliable, and they have amazing views on Dr. Foster and Smith. And I would recommend, instead of just one heater, I would recommend two 200-watt heaters at each end of the tank, because if one fails, you'll have a backup. And with two heaters, it will help there be less hot spots, and your tank will just have a more even temperature. For CO2 on my tank, I just have the DIY system going. For 75 gallon, I don't think DIY would be kind of inefficient for a tank that large. For the plants that I recommended and the fertilizers that I recommended along with the lights, I think Seachem Excel, which is liquid CO2, would be fine. But you're going to want to use it and then see if you have any problems. And if you do, I would go with a pressurized system. As you can see, all I have is DIY CO2, so I don't know a lot about pressurized. So you would probably have to ask somebody more experienced, because I don't have a lot of experience in pressurized CO2, but for now I would just go with Seachem Excel, which is liquid CO2. So now that we've made it through equipment, I'm going to move on to stocking, and this is the fun part. A lot of people in their entries before me have suggested discus, and don't get me wrong, discus are an awesome fish. I'd love to have a discus tank, but discus are a lot of work, and you have a lot of tanks to maintain already. And so an equally cool and interesting fish, I think, is the Bosemani Rainbow. I recommend 7 to 8 of these guys. I'll put a picture of them up right now. They're a really cool fish. Males get to about 4 to 5 inches, and females a little bit under 4 inches. They love big water changes, but they don't need as many water changes as discus. That's where the maintenance part comes in. They're not as high maintenance. Males display better colors as they get older, and they also display colors for females. And they like a bit of a higher pH, probably 7 and up. You can go a little bit under 7, but I wouldn't keep them in anything like 6 or 6.5 or anything. Another fish that does really well with Bosemani is I would recommend 6 to 8 bronze corridors. You have a ton of Cory species right now. You have a couple of them. I think you have albino Cories. That's one that I can remember off the top of my head. But I think you have another variation, but I'm not 100% sure. So I tried to pick fish species that you didn't have, so I'm going to put up a picture right now. Bronze Cories are my favorite species of corridors, just by looks. They get to around 2.5 inches, pH around 7. Neutral is pretty much good for any tropical fish. They are a bottom dweller, and they love the sand substrate that I recommended. Seachem fluoride will help your plants, and the corals will love it. And they are a scavenger, so they appreciate sinking wafers and pellets and stuff. And then I would recommend 10 to 15 neon tetras. These are similar to your cardinals, but they have a shorter red stripe on the bottom. It's only half of them instead of the whole fish. And these get to about 2 inches. They're really easy to care for, similar to your cardinals. And again, they like a pH of around 7. And they basically accept any tropical flake. Omega-1 is the brand that I like to use. And then here's a really, really cool fish that I would recommend. I would recommend getting a pair of bristlenose plecos. Here's a picture of them. They look really, really cool with like the nose. They're an incredibly peaceful species of pleco, and they get to about 6 inches max. They clean algae amazingly, and I just think they're really, really cool. And they love if you put some blanched zucchini in there. So thank you so much for watching my entry for Amber Courtney's contest. Go check her out. Links to her and all the equipment I suggested in the description. And I could really use that money because I need to upgrade my light fixture. All I got in there is a T8 right now, and I'm going to be getting a dual T5 fixture from Top Dog Sellers. So thanks for watching, and good luck to everybody else who entered.